In these problems, we're using something called the factor theorem to test whether something is a factor of a function or not. And you're probably familiar with finding the zeros of a function. And typically, the method you'd use to do that is to factor the function, get all its factors, and set each of its factors equal to 0, and then solve for x. Well, we're going to use a method that depends a lot on that same kind of a process. We're going to take this possible factor. We don't know if this is a factor of this function or not. We're going to test it. We're going to set it equal to 0 and solve. So we'll find the 0 of this function, or the possible 0 of this function. In this case, it's just we have to subtract 1 from each side, so we would get x equals -1. Now, if this really is a 0 of this function, well, that means then this really is a factor. And if this is a 0 of this function, if you plug this value in, this x value in the function, it should equal 0. So we should have -2 times -1 to the third power, just plugging -1 in for x here, minus 4 times -1 squared minus 7, and that should equal 0. So let's see if it does. Well, let's see. -1 to the third power is still -1. -1 times -2 is a +2. And -1 squared is a +1. +1 times -4 is -4. And then minus 7. So we've got 2 minus 4 minus 7. That does not equal 0. So this is not a factor. All right, let's try one more here just for practice. So we're being asked to determine whether x plus 2 is a factor of this polynomial here. So the first thing we're going to do is solve the 0 here. We would subtract 2 from each side, and we would get x equals -2. Then we take that value, plug it into our function, and if it equals 0, then this was a 0, and that means this was a factor. All right, so we're going to have 2 times -2 to the fourth power plus 2 times -2 to the third power minus 4 times a -2 minus 24. And that should equal 0 if this is a factor. All right, let's see. -2 to the fourth power, that's a +16, so 2 times that is 32. And -2 to the third power is a -8 times 2, so that's a -16. And then -4 times -2 is a +8. And then minus 24. And let's see, does that equal 0? So 16 plus 8 minus 24, that does equal 0. So yes, this is a factor. So that is how to use the factor theorem to determine if something is a factor of a polynomial.